Hi, this is Nam from Easy Sunday Club. In our YouTube channel, we do how-tos, business strategy, and occasional watercolor tutorials to help turn your creative daydreams into reality. Today, we go over the best inkjet printers for artists in 2021. So in 2020, I did a video of the best fine art printers for artists. But as we know, a lot has changed since last year. First, Epson and Canon came out with some new high-end printers that replaced some outgoing models. Another thing that has changed since last year is that printers are pretty much sold out everywhere right now as of summer 2021. That's because there's currently a global chip shortage that is affecting the production of everything from cars to laptops and printers. There's also a limited supply of printers because when the pandemic hit, everyone started working and zooming from home. And what that caused is that a bunch of people brought printers to have in their home office. Hopefully, things will go back to normal and people use their work printer for all of their personal needs like a resourceful employee is supposed to. So basically what I'm trying to say is that new fine art printers are not easy to come by these days. It seems that even though we are all done with the BS that 2020 had to offer, 2020 is not yet finished with us. Luckily for you, printers not being available on Amazon won't stop you from window shopping with this printer review video. Before I jump into the printers I recommend, let me talk about the criteria I went through as I did research and sifted through tons of Amazon reviews on your behalf. The first thing I'm going to ask is, can the printer handle cardstock? If so, how thick of cardstock? The printer can't handle the thickness of the cardstock, it's just going to get stuck in the printer. So if I'm using this to print greeting cards, then I really need to know this. Next thing I need to know is, do I need a scanner? If I do, then I might need to buy one of those 4-in-1 multi-use printers. If I already have a scanner, then I'll just buy a standalone printer. Next thing I'll ask is, can it do batch printing and does it have an auto feeder? If I'm printing greeting cards or prints in bulk, I want it to be able to do this because I don't want to feed in to the printer one page at a time. It'll drive me crazy. Next thing I'll ask is, what size width printer do I need? Do I need 11 inches, 13 inches, or 17 inches? If I need large 16 by 20 art prints, then I'll definitely need the 17-inch wide format printer. If I need to make 12 by 16 art prints, then I'll need a 13-inch wide printer. If I don't need neither, then I'll just buy an 11-inch wide printer, which is the size of US letter-sized paper. I personally prefer the 17-inch wide printers because it allows me to print 8 by 10 prints in bulk. For example, on a 17-inch wide printer, I use a 16 by 22-inch paper and I can put 4 8 by 10 prints on there and print 4 prints with one piece of paper. So it just saves on cost and time for me. So that's why I prefer the bigger printers. If you want to see how we kind of optimize that and do that workflow, I have a separate video that you can watch regarding that. Next question that I'm going to ask is, what quality of ink do I need? If I'm printing art prints that are going to go into an art gallery and I don't want the ink to fade for 100 years, I'll need archival level ink. If I don't, then I just can use dye-based ink that is not archival and I don't need that high level of quality. The next thing I'll be asking myself is, what image quality do I need? Depending on what I need, I'll look at the number of ink cartridges that the printer comes with. The more ink cartridges a printer has, then the wider color range and color gamut it will have. The number of cartridges can range anywhere from 1, which is just like a black and white printer, to 3, which is like the primary colors and it mixes to make all the other colors, or it can have up to 10 cartridges. The next thing I'll be thinking to myself is, will this be future-proof? The way that I look into this is, when was the printer released? If the printer was released in 2020 or 2021, then that means it's at the beginning of its life cycle and the technology is up to date and current, and it'll probably last me 4 to 10 years. If the printer has already been released for 4 or 5 years, it might be at the end of its life cycle and I might want to wait for the printer to be updated, or I might want to buy another printer that was more recently released. The next consideration to think about is the printer head replaceable on the printer? So if you're an idiot like me and have ever fried a printer head, it'll save you a lot of money if the printer head can be replaced. If it can't be replaced, you'll have to toss the whole entire printer. In general, the high-end Canon printers have replaceable printer heads. Next thing is to ask yourself, do you care about how much the ink costs? If you do, then you might want to go for a printer with refillable ink cartridges or tanks. That'll be a lower cost option for you. However, even with a printer that doesn't come with refillable cartridges, there are hacks out there with the third-party printer ink market where they do offer refillable cartridges for your printers. You have to go through some loopholes, but it's out there. Next thing I'll think about is, can the printer print borderlessly? That means, can the printer print up to the very edges of the paper? The really nice printers are able to do this. The last criteria is that it has to be an inkjet printer. A lot of commenters have asked me on last year's video, why not laser? Well, in general, inkjet is better for photos and image-heavy documents because they do a better job of blending smooth colors than laser printers. They can also print on many types of different papers, from glossy photo papers to poster board to textured matte. Okay, so that was all the criteria. Now let's get on to the actual printers. Just kidding, I have more stuff to say. So before we get into the printers, I just want to tell you how I categorize the printers. I put them in 3 categories based on price. First is budget, which is under $300. Second is mid-tier, which is under $700. And then third is upper tier / fine art archival quality, which ranges from $900 and up. So the first printer in our budget category is the Epson Expression Photo XP970. This printer is for those who need it all: a scanner, a printer, a copier, and fax. The cost is around $300. Can it print cardstock? Yes, it can print up to 80-pound cardstock easily. However, with thicker cardstock, it has to be fed through the rear paper feeder, which means it can only print 1 page at a time before you have to reload it. For the width size, it can print up to 11 inches by 17-inch print size. It doesn't have archival ink. It has 6 different ink cartridges, and it can print borderlessly. The max resolution that it can print up to is 5760 by 1440. If you don't need a scanner, but you still want to spend under $300 for a printer, then you might want to try the Epson Photo HD XP15000 wide format printer. This is one of the few printers that are a carryover from last year's list. It's currently around $300 after applying a $50 rebate. Always look for rebates when you're buying printers. It does not have a scanner, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. You get one less scanner, but you get a higher quality printer. I'm more of a fan of buying something that does one thing really, really well. For cardstock, it'll handle it no problem. One reviewer said that she prints 140-pound cardstock on this daily. The max print size is 13 inches by 44 inches. It does not have archival inks. It has 6 ink cartridges, and it can print borderlessly. The max resolution is 5760 by 1440. And I would say the main difference between this printer and the other budget printer, the Epson XP970, is the width size. So the 970 is 11 inches wide, while the XP15000 is 13 inches wide. The 15000 also is faster and also prints thicker cardstock more easily. Next up are the mid-tier printers, which are under $700. So let's mix it up with the Canon printer for our first mid-tier printer. First up is the Canon Pixma Pro 200. This printer released just late 2020 and replaced the beloved Canon Pro 10 printer. The price is around $600. For cardstock, it handles up to 110-pound cardstock, and for thicker papers, you'll have to use the rear paper feeder. The max print size is 13 by 39 inches. It does not have archival ink. It is a dye-based system with rich colors. The number of inks that is included in this printer are 8, and it prints borderlessly, no problem. For resolution, it goes up to 4800 by 2400 dpi. Feedback that I've gotten about this printer is that it prints relatively fast. I have heard some feedback regarding compatibility with Macs. Also, inks were not widely available for sale when it was first released in late 2020. The ink cartridges may have run into supply chain issues due to COVID. Before I would buy this printer, I would just make sure that those supply chain issues have been solved. The next printer I want to talk about is the Epson EcoTank ET8550 all-in-one printer. This will replace the outgoing Epson Expression Premium ET7750 EcoTank printer, which was on my list last year. The reason why I have this printer on my list is because it comes with refillable cartridges. It's better for the environment and cheaper because it creates less waste from empty printer cartridges. But the question I have is, can it do all of the things that you need as an artist? Jury's still out. What I do know is that the price is $700. It includes the printer and the scanner, no fax. The max print size is 13 by 19 inches. It prints borderlessly, and there's also a smaller version that is 11 inches wide, and that's called the ET8500. And that one is going to cost around $600. It does handle cardstock based on its specs. The max thickness it can handle is 1.3 millimeters, and that's through the rear feeder. The inks are not archival, but it does come with 6 different colors. The resolution is 5760 by 1440, and with using the fillable ink bottles, Epson claims you can save up to $2,000 in ink cartridges when you use Epson's replacement ink bottles. The thing that I'm keeping my eye out as these reviews are coming in is that how fast does it print? Its predecessor got a lot of slack for kind of printing slow. So far from reviews, The 8550 and the 8500 are no different. It also prints slow. The other question that I have is, how is the print quality and will it meet my needs for fine art prints and for greeting cards? Based on initial reviews, the quality is good. It's not going to be comparable to some of the other fine art printers, but when you balance the sustainability positives of this printer versus the print quality, it might be worth it for some people. I believe the EcoTank printers have a lot of potential in terms of quality, environmental, and financial impact, so I couldn't help but put it on this list, and it's just something for you to keep an eye on. Now, last up are the high-end printers. These will run you around $800 and up, but these are for the professional artistes. So when you get these printers, you know you're going big even though you're working from home. So first up for these top tier printers are the Epson SureColor Pro P700 and the P900. The P700 is a 13-inch version of their fine art printer, and the P900 is a 17-inch version of these printers. Both of these printers dropped in 2020, and they replaced my current printer, the Epson SureColor Pro P800. The P700 runs for $800, while the P900 runs for around $1,200. Max print size for the P700 is 13 inches by 129 inches, and for the P900, the max print size is 17 inches by 129 inches. It can handle cardstock easily, it can handle special media, and it also has a rear feed option for special media. It has archival ink, that means it is art gallery quality, and it has 10 different ink cartridges. Also, the new addition between the P700 and P900 with the outgoing models, the P800 and the P600, is that there is no longer color switching between the photo black ink and the matte black ink. What color switching means is that before, if you were to print photos and then switch to printing on matte paper, it would have to dump out all of the photo ink in order to put in the matte black ink. Now it switches between the two and you don't have to throw all that ink down the drain. This printer prints borderlessly and the resolution is 5760 by 1440 dpi. Random facts, the P700 comes with the built-in roller if you want to do those wide panoramic shots. The P900 also has a roller, but it's an add-on of $250. I did a P800 versus P900 video if you want to learn more about the P900. Last up is Canon's take on the fine art printer. They call theirs the Image ProGraph Pro 300 and the Image ProGraph Pro 1000. The Pro 300 is the 13-inch version of their fine art printer, and the Pro 1000 is their 17-inch wide version of their fine art printer. The 1000 released in 2015, while the Pro 300 released in 2020. The Pro 300 runs for around $900, which is about $100 more than the Epson P700. And the Pro 1000 runs for $1,300, which runs $100 more than the Epson P900. Yes, it can print cardstock and print borderlessly. The resolution is 2400 by 1200 dpi, and the Image ProGraph 1000 has archival inks, and the ProGraph 1000 also has 11 different inks. That's a lot. There are some differences between these Canon printers and the Epson printers. So with the Canons, they do not have a roller option. You can still print those really long banners, but you just have to pre-cut the paper out. Another thing about these Canon printers is that the ink is going to run cheaper than the Epson SureColor Pro series. So the Pro 300 inks run about 90 cents a milliliter, while the Epson P700 ink costs about $1.52 a milliliter. When you go up to the 17-inch versions, the Pro 1000 inks are 70 cents a milliliter, while the Epson P900 inks are 83 cents a milliliter. Another consideration is that the Canons have replaceable print heads, while the Epsons do not. That comes in handy if you ever have to repair the print head. So as you can see, the Epsons and the Canons both have their own quirks and features. As far as print quality is concerned, I really don't think you can go wrong with either one. For me personally, I've been buying Epsons since we started our business, so I'm comfortable with them and I know their quirks pretty well. For the 17-inch printers, the P900 just dropped in 2020, while the Image ProGraph 1000 from Canon released in 2015. So as far as like future-proofing, that's another reason why I would prefer the Epson at this time. But again, do your research, read some of the reviews, and see which one you are more comfortable with. So that's pretty much it. So much freaking printer information. We have a bunch of links below listing out all the printers we talked about so you can do additional research. If you click on them, it'll take you to Amazon where you can read a little bit more about the printer in depth and start scanning through some of the reviews. So what do you think? Have you found a printer that fits your budget and needs? Or do you want to leave a nerdy and snarky printer comment? Let me know either way. Thank you for joining me this year on the 2021 Fine Art Printer Reviews, and I'll see you next year. Thank you.